Hello, welcome to workshop 5. This workshop is on assessment strategy. Assessment strategy. So in this particular workshop, we're talking about formative assessments and summative assessments. Okay. Now the formative assessments are much more like a continuous assessment where students are assessed on a continuous basis. Okay. It serves as a feedback into the whole process in the module delivery structure. So as a lecturer, you are able to assess whether students are able to understand all that you are teaching them or not. And it also helps students to make an input into the entire module delivery. So it's an important aspect of assessments. The second one is the summative, which is sort of a type of assessment that is undertaken at the end of a period. It can be at the end of the middle part of the module or at the end of the entire module. Okay, so it depends on how you structure it. So typically, if you look at it, we have designed learning outcomes, isn't it? Okay, the next stage usually in the module design strategy is to design your assessment methods. So briefly, I'll take you through what we are expected to be doing in the assessment strategy of the CUT project. And then the third part is the teaching and learning activities. And you see that when teaching and learning activities are undertaken, it serves as a feedback into the learning outcome. So that is why no learning outcome is written in stones. Okay? We do update it all the time. We do assess it all the time. We do change it all the time to make sure that it is relevant to the current context in which we are teaching. So there is always a feedback into the whole module process. So probably all the learning outcomes that we have really designed or we have written out clearly now, probably when we want to assess these modules in the next 2-3 years, we may try to update the learning outcomes, So first and foremost, learning outcomes are designed, and then assessment is adopted or designed, and then learning activities are designed, and there is some kind of feedback into the whole process of learning outcomes design. So in terms of the CUT project, or all the 17 modules that we are designing, particularly the 16 one, which is the postgraduate ones, we're going to have a formative assessment, which is 5 marks each. Because for the formative assessment, it is 50%. The weighting is 50%. So I'm expecting you to dot 10 pieces of assessment across the entire module. It could be in week 2, it could be in week 4, it could be in week 6, it could be week 5, 6, 8, but make sure there are 10 assessments, formative assessments. And these assessments will be submitted by students as and when it is undertaken. And we're going to set it up in such a way that if the student does not complete one assessment, he cannot move forward with the module. So it's going to be a barrier. It's going to push students to really work hard. So I'm discussing this with CUT Learning Designer in such a way that students can submit their reports or the formative assessment, and that is collected in a folder or straight goes to the instructor where there is some marking to be done and a feedback will be given. Or alternatively, we will see if the system can mark it. Okay, in that case, it should be some multiple choice questions which the system can mark. So, but make sure you have 10 formative assessments. Now, the formats or the type that I want you to adopt is either a quiz or a report. If it is a quiz, then that means that if we are looking for 5 marks, then that means that it should be, I'm looking around 20 quizzes, 20 questions, and each of those questions is 0.5. So the 20 will be 10, will be 5 marks, isn't it? Okay, all right. Now, also, in terms of the reports, I'm expecting that a report should be 100 words each. So that means that at the end of the formative assessment, the student has done 1,000 words of assessment, which is equal to 50% of the entire assessment. Okay, all right. Now, the other question would be, when would it be released? For the formative assessment, is released from day one of enrolling in the module. So students know what kind of assessment they should expect. And this is something that we put in the introduction, okay, for students to know. And when do they submit it? So that the submission date is continuous. So as and when they do the week, if the week in which the assessment is, they have to take it before they can move to the next week or the following week. Okay. Then how would the grade be posted or the marks be posted? It can either be the system marking it or the instructor is marking it and giving some feedback. So let's come to the summative part. Now, the summative assessment is divided into two parts, 25% each. Okay. The first one is an essay, which is a coursework. So students will be asked to write a 500-word essay on the topic for the week, or you decide exactly how you want to frame it, but it should be related to the topic that you are teaching for the week, or probably the previous one. You decide what you want to ask them. For instance, I have a question here. Write a 500-word, this is a 500-word individual assessment focusing on identifying the essential elements of entrepreneurial value creation in a country context. So this is a 500-word assessment. Okay. When should it be submitted? I'm expecting that this part of the assessment should be submitted at the end of the 4th week. Or you can, yes, at the end of the 4th week, we would assess this a learning assessment. So we would assess students at the end of the 4th week. Okay, and we are expecting lecturers to mark and release the grades after 20 working days of submission. The last part, which is the 25%, again, which also forms part of the summative. So you can see the summative divided into two parts. Okay, the assessment 2 of the summative is online exam. I understand CUT is using Blackboard, so that means that we can use Blackboard to time the exam in such a way that you don't need an invigilator actually. So what you can do is we would release the exam papers or the exam questions on the day of the exam. So let's say early morning tomorrow, we release it and we give students 3-4 hours. So let's say from 8 o'clock, so additional 4 hours, then the system closes. By that time, we expect students to write. It's usually an unseen exam because they have to see those questions only on the day of assessment. And wherever they are, they can take this assessment. So that makes it much more cost effective. You don't need an invigilator. You don't need... another thing that I'm discussing with CUT is that when these assessments are submitted, they should be sent to a particular folder where the lecturer can access it. So whether it's on Blackboard or if they want students to submit it on Blackboard, so we will put all those details in place. But for now, it is important we design the assessment. If there is any question, please do draw my attention and we would clarify. Thank you very much.